This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch for Friday, August 7th. I'm Mark Martin. The National Rifle Association files a countersuit against New York. It claims the state's Attorney General Letitia James is misusing her office to bring down the NRA for political reasons. James's suit claims widespread fraud and abuse of power in the organization's top leadership. CBN's Paul Strand brings us the story.
Just a few minutes ago, my office filed a lawsuit against the National Rifle Association to dissolve the organization in its entirety.
New York AG Letitia James came out firing, charging the NRA with serious mismanagement that wasted and misspent tens of millions of donors' dollars.
For personal use by senior leadership, to award contracts to the financial gain of close associates and family.
This isn't the first time James has personally gone after the gun rights group.
She essentially questioned the tax status of the NRA, said that they claim to be a charity group, but they're actually a quote, terrorist group. So obviously there's certainly a lot of history involved there.
John Lott, author of Gun Control Myths, calls it politically motivated.
It's just a real abuse of power for an attorney general to single out somebody to go after a nonprofit because she disagrees with them politically.
Gutowski points out the timing could be designed to sabotage the NRA's plan to spend tens of millions of dollars on the 2020 election.
During the press conference, the AG was asked whether she would try to freeze their assets, and she said yes. So if she's able to do that, I mean, clearly they won't be able to spend those millions of dollars.
And it's such a crucial time for the issue. Lott believes the political parties are so split on gun control that gun owners will realize their Second Amendment rights may seriously be on the line.
I think this election will determine the long-run future for whether or not people are able to privately own guns to protect themselves and their families.
All this comes as gun sales are soaring to record levels, with a public panicked over the pandemic, riots, looting, and efforts to defund the police. It's causing 1,000 people a day to join the NRA over the last 2 months. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
President Trump often criticizes sanctuary cities for allowing illegal immigrants to remain in the country. In California, a district attorney has just declared his county a sanctuary county for churches. San Luis Obispo County Attorney Dan Dow told CBN News he will not prosecute churches that violate Governor Newsom's orders limiting praise and worship.
Strongly feel that it would be against the interest of justice for us to punish criminally citizens choosing to worship God or their whatever religion they have at a time when we're going through a pandemic. I mean, if anything, we need people to spend more time in their faith, seeking help from the Almighty to answer this coronavirus and to protect our communities and our nation.
Dow made his sanctuary church decision after Governor Newsom issued an order preventing California Christians from singing during worship services. Newsom's decree also prohibits 10 or more people from gathering in houses, and that means Christians meeting for Bible studies in their homes may be deemed guilty of committing a misdemeanor. Nationwide, new cases of COVID-19 are declining. They're dropping 14% in the last 2 weeks. But on the local level, cases are still rising in at least 10 states. Meanwhile, there's some good news on the medical front. National Institutes of Health Director Dr. Francis Collins says there's promise with convalescent plasma. That's plasma donated by people who had the virus and are over it. He says they'll be tested in the next few weeks to see if they also provide life-saving benefits. A possible vaccine for COVID-19 should go into testing on humans this fall by the Israel Institute for Biological Research. The government-funded laboratory began working on a vaccine 6 months ago, and leaders say their product has promising results. The lab's director says it is an excellent vaccine, and they hope to have it available in Israel early next year. Then, if it is successful, offer it to other nations. The suspicious explosion in Beirut this week made a bad situation in Lebanon even worse. Facing an economic crisis and reportedly under the strong-arm control of Hezbollah, this country is on the brink of disaster. Here's CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl with a closer look.
Once known as the Switzerland of the East, Lebanon is experiencing its worst economic and societal crisis in modern history.
Hezbollah is using civilian neighborhood to store their weapons. And as a matter of fact, they are firing from civilian neighborhoods. They use the civilian neighborhood as a shield.
That's been documented numerous times, which leads to suspicion after the massive explosion that rocked Beirut.
If this is a Hezbollah warehouse, which I cannot prove now, this will be a very serious allegation against Hezbollah, and maybe more political pressure that Hezbollah will end its role as a military power in Lebanon.
And the Hezbollah problem is not just limited to the fact that you've got a terrorist organization funded by Iran with a massive arsenal of rockets and precision-guided munitions that face Israel. The problem of Hezbollah is also a financial one.
Jonathan Schanzer of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy says Hezbollah's infiltration has cratered the Lebanese economy.
This includes money laundering, terror finance, and corruption. And basically, Hezbollah has corrupted and corroded what was once a vibrant banking center and has now eaten it alive. And there is indications that the banking sector is on the verge of collapse.
Religious loyalties and corruption also play a part.
You can't blame it entirely on Hezbollah. Again, some of this is good old-fashioned greed.
On a recent visit, the French foreign minister urged Lebanese leaders to put needed reforms into place. And even before COVID, Lebanese protesters filled the streets, railing against the failing economy in their country. Now, more protesters are turning on Hezbollah.
Our message is heard. The French and the Americans are receptive. They have promised us to work on implementing the UN Security Council Resolution 1559, which calls for the removal of all illegal weapons from Lebanese and non-Lebanese militias, especially Hezbollah, that has hijacked the Lebanese state.
Our message is that we respect the Lebanese constitution and its implementation and the implementation of Resolution 1559, and that Iran does not dominate Lebanon.
Schanzer says the opportunity for Lebanon's people to drive out Hezbollah will be when the economy collapses. The aftermath of the massive explosion could become the time to act. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is with us now with more. Chris, what did Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, say about ammonium nitrate, and why is that relevant today?
Well, Mark, in a 2016 speech, Nasrallah said that he wanted to hit the ammonium nitrate storage facility in Haifa. He compared it to the possibility of a nuclear bomb. And so he does know that this is a very lethal weapon. There has been investigations that maybe Hezbollah has tried to store ammonium nitrate in Kuwait and other places. The U.S. Treasury says that Hezbollah actually controls the port of Beirut. So I think as time goes on, more and more people are looking to Hezbollah as the possible source of the people that were actually controlling this ammonium nitrate and just the catastrophic devastation that it's had on Beirut right now.
Chris, is there more criticism of Hezbollah now, and why would you say that's important?
Well, it's very important. As you saw in Julie's report, there are people that are speaking out about Hezbollah. Actually, there's one journalist, you can find that online right now. He was very, very adamant about the fact that Hezbollah is the group that is really responsible for not only the economic disaster, but also this possible disaster, what's happening in Beirut right now. We talked to a worker on the streets yesterday in a Facebook Live, and she was talking about Hezbollah. I actually called her after the Facebook Live and said, do you really want to say that? And she said, yes, because politicians are talking that way right now. People on the street are criticizing Hezbollah. Hezbollah has really had a stranglehold on Lebanon for many years, and I think people are saying we've just had enough, and that's why I believe you'll be hearing more protest against this Iranian-sponsored proxy group there in Lebanon.
What are you hearing about the relationship of Lebanon and Israel and how people are praying?
Well, Actually, I was talking to somebody in Beirut just yesterday, Mark, and they were saying that really social media in Lebanon is buzzing. And what are they buzzing about? Tel Aviv, in the city hall, they put the Lebanese flag on the front of the building. And so you're seeing that actually there's a connection between what the people are feeling in Beirut and Lebanon and the people of Israel. You know, where I'm standing right now, Mark, just about 150 miles from Beirut. I could be there in about 3 or 4 hours by car, and yet, because of the political situation, there's really a closed border. And also, Mark, it's the land of the Bible. This is where Jesus performed miracles in Tyre and Sidon. You know, there is a prophecy that Lebanon will one day be a fruitful field. And I think what people are praying right now, I know that I've seen it on WhatsApp groups, they're praying for open borders, actually, that somehow it would be miraculous, but somehow there would be an open border between Israel and Lebanon. We know right now that Israeli doctors and hospitals are saying, please let us help the injured and the wounded right now from this disaster. We'll see if that actually happens.
And what do you have this week on Jerusalem Dateline, Chris?
Well, Mark, because it's such a huge story, it's going to be all about Lebanon. We're going to look back at what's happened a few days ago. We have an idea about what's happening in the political situation. We talk again about the biblical destiny of Lebanon and how people are praying, and sort of an on-the-ground report, I should say, about what's happening there. I think people should really be tuned in about what's happening in Lebanon and pray for the people of Lebanon at this crisis during this time.
Yes, definitely pray for the people of Lebanon. All right, Chris Mitchell, our Middle East Bureau Chief. Thanks, Chris, for staying on top of it for us. We appreciate it. And you can catch Jerusalem Dateline with Chris tonight on the CBN News Channel. It's at 9:30 Eastern. Coming up, helping young people having trouble with all the cultural and social pressures they face in this day and age.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back to Newswatch. Today's young people are under attack, hurting and looking for hope in the midst of everything from gender confusion to addictions. As Charlene Aaron shows us, One Georgia Ministry takes a unique approach to help them turn their lives around.
When Trace Embry finished Bible college, he envisioned becoming a pastor.
We got the tap on the shoulder about midway through our Bible college experience that you're not going to be a pastor in the traditional sense.
That word, combined with a passion to help troubled teenagers, led Embry and his wife to look for land. They purchased 200 acres and turned it into Shepherd's Hill Academy, a Christian boarding school for kids in crisis. This footage was recorded prior to COVID-19, but the virus hasn't slowed the school's mission.
Kids are enrolling at Shepherd's Hill. We've never stopped enrolling kids. We actually had I was positive. We had a few kids that were positive, no kids that were sick, but we had 4 staff members that did get sick. Wow. And so we've gone through the proper protocols, all the funnel system. We've gone beyond.
Endorsed by top Christian leaders such as wall builders David Barton and the late Ravi Zacharias, youth from across America and some 19 countries attend the school, which boasts a strong academic and spiritual environment.
From 8 to 3, the kids are in school like any other school. They conduct their affairs in school, STEM, education, good education, quality education.
Trained medical professionals also help kids go through a time of digital detox.
These kids, they can't hardly escape pornography. We're giving these kids these addictive adult toys called smartphones, 24/7 unencumbered access. That's like giving your kid the key to the liquor cabinet and just expecting them to exercise a wise protocol.
Another therapy component includes a nature-based program, which requires students to survive and thrive in cabins without internet access or electricity. Those enrolled work on outdoor projects, bond with each other, and connect with God.
There's never a better opportunity for a kid to get to know Jesus than a year in an unplugged environment where they have real relationships, face-to-face relationships. There's the teamwork of keeping those cabins warm in the winter and maintained and dry in the summer. And, no running water, no electricity. They live there for an entire year.
Learning to defend their Christian faith is also part of the school's curriculum.
They're getting a tremendous amount of apologetic training. They're leaving here and going back in there, and they're able to go toe-to-toe with a 50-year-old college professor and not be talked out of their faith.
It's bigger than grades. God's not looking for an A student. He's looking for a student.
Faith that Embry says turns these young lives around.
We see kids transform from the craziest things, including homosexuality, transgender issues. We got kids working for NASA. I just got a call from a parent whose kid just got a doctorate in nursing. This is a kid who told me when he first saw me that before he leaves here, he's raping my daughter. But he was the first and only Shepherd's Hill alumni to ever come back to work as a counselor.
Meanwhile, Embry, who also hosts the syndicated program Licensed to Parent.
The cold, hard truth is that the majority of today's parents are way too naive about the dark side of their kids.
Says helping kids heal and reconnect with family means the world to him.
Nothing has thrilled my heart more than a Shepherd's Hill Academy graduation service. And you hear these kids, and you get the emails and the letters back, and I can't describe it.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Still ahead, UConn calls off its fall football schedule. A look at the season overall for schools with our sports director, Sean Brown.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Big news this week in the world of sports as schools like University of Connecticut announced they won't be playing football this season. Here with more is our sports director, Sean Brown. Welcome, Sean.
Hey, good morning, Mark. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Big news out of UConn. Was it expected?
I have to say yes, just because of the trends that are happening in professional sports. You know, when you have multiple players on a roster, you know, testing positive for COVID-19, you have to look at your program and figure out what's best for your program, for specifically the students in college. And so it is to be expected. We'll probably see more of this as we progress closer into the fall. I expect the NCAA to begin having meetings, if they're not already, to figure out if they're actually going to move football season into the spring. I know that some programs at the Division II level they've already considered that. And so, yes, I expect it to be extremely interesting over the next few weeks as to how programs will decide to move forward amid, this COVID-19 crisis. And so UConn, they're the first ones to step to the plate and say, hey, our players, we hear you. They had concerns about their health. They had concerns about, there was a lot of uncertainty. And these players give so much. And they said, look, we're going to sacrifice our bodies in practice and whatnot, preparing for a season that may or may not happen. It's better to just say, hey, let's wait until next year. And again, programs are watching the NFL, who right now they've already canceled their preseason. They're looking at trying to have a season, but college programs are watching the NFL and saying, okay, well, their programs are similar to that. If they're, if it looks like they can begin to have games, maybe we can have somewhat of a season. So right now it looks like they're just going to have conference games. The rivalry games within each conference will probably come a little earlier in the season. But right now, that's what it looks like for college teams. It looks like the bigger programs, your Alabamas, your Clemsons, right now it looks like they're trying to have a season. But if COVID begins to spread within the locker room, programs are going to start pumping the brakes. So hopefully that will happen.
And Sean, let's talk more about the SEC. It's a powerhouse. You really think that they might go the way of UConn with this?
It is a football powerhouse. If there are no cases and they can move forward within conference, I believe they can. But if it looks like it's getting worse, you have to think of the students' safety, the safety and their health. That comes first. Without them, there is no program. And so schools will respond, responsibly, hopefully, and say, we need to pump the brakes, on the season. Right now, things are scheduled, and so. It just depends on, the way things are progressing with other programs and then within the programs themselves.
Any other news in the world of sports that you're following right now besides college football?
Well, I just have to say, right now the NBA, I remember Jonathan Isaac with Orlando taking a stand during the national anthem while all of his other players were kneeling and holding his legs. I know that, we've discussed this before, but a lot of people are talking about it and saying, hey, he should be standing. He shouldn't be standing. He doesn't have a Black Lives Matter shirt. I think what we're missing here is the fact that the players that were kneeling were supporting their brother who was standing, and the brother that was standing was supporting the players that were kneeling. And what I see from that, whether you agree or disagree, what I see is the unity in that and the example that we need to pull from that. Jonathan Isaac had his own conviction. And the players respected that, and the players had their conviction, and so Jonathan Isaac respected that. And I think that's the way that we move forward, is understanding, all right, we both kind of want the same thing. I see where you are with this. I'm going to support you. As long as it's obviously nonviolent, then, I just think it's a great example of what, we need to move forward and what unity should look like, whether you're for Black Lives Matter or not. I think we're all against police brutality and justice for all. So.
All right, Sean Brown, our sports director. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Sean.
Thank you, Mark.
And Sean's show, Going the Distance, airs this weekend on the CBN News Channel. It's Saturday at 6:30 and Sunday at 7:30, both Eastern Time. We'll be right back.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
A Pensacola boy is hailed a hero after a serious diving accident, even though he's never had any formal swimming or lifeguard training. Isaiah Williams told reporters that when diving with family or friends, if they don't surface before him, he dives again to go find them. This time it saved his dad's life. His father actually broke his neck in the dive. Despite their difference in size, he turned his dad over so he could breathe and dragged him toward the shore. Bystanders saw them and came to help get his dad out of the water. He was taken to an area hospital where he underwent surgery for the neck injury. His wife says he's doing well and recovering. A great way to end the show. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day and a blessed weekend.